Welcome to Scale Models. I'm Jason, your host, and I do models and electronics. What's up with that? Today we're looking at inductors. As part of our basic electronics, we already covered resistors and capacitors. And as a capacitor restricts or restricts changes in withstands changes in voltage, rapid changes in voltage. An inductor reduces wow, I'm having trouble with my words. Words are hard on a video. Inductors withstand rapid changes in current, and an inductor is basically a coil of wires, like so, and as the current flows through it, it is clamped down. So if you have current spikes like this, an inductor will smooth it out so it won't change through there. So the current through an inductor is rapid changes will not be allowed through an inductor. And there are different sizes of inductors, and inductors are measured in the Henry. And you have microhenry, or that's millihenry. Then you have microhenry. Then you have nanohenry, and you have picohenry, and then of course you have your normal henries. I would assume you could have kilohenries and megahenries and gigahenries, but I've never seen anything like that, and the inductors I use are in the lower range. Now, let me show you some. Let me put this drawing pad up here. Now that I've shown you how this works, what an inductor is, and what it looks like, let's go to the overhead camera here. Yes, I have the face cam on now. I'm trying it out. Here is, no, we're not going to do the side view. So I have here is some axial inductors here that I have, and I'll show you some other inductors. These are the only inductors that I have in stock, and this right here is 1.5 microhenries. Now, if you want to measure an inductor to see what its inductance is, you need a meter to do that, and my desktop meters, believe it or not, being singlet test gear, and I'll show you my singlet test gear right there, being a singlet test gear, do not measure inductors. So you actually need an LCR meter to measure an inductor, and I happen to have a pair of Elite One made in Canada LCR tweezers here, so I'm going to use these. I do have an LCR meter. I'm not sure if it is within my grasp to grab. No, it is not. So we're just going to use this. We're going to turn this on, and we're going to set this to inductance, which is L. Inductors on a board are labeled as L, and if I touch these two leads here like so, I should get 1.69 so it's a little off here. Oh, you can't even see that. There it is. So I'm getting 1.6, and it's 1.7, and it's supposed to be a 1.5 microhenry. And then you can see that this has a resistance, because it's a coil, it has a resistance of about 170 megohms, the series resistance, and we can actually measure the actual resistance, because that was the series resistance. We can actually measure the actual resistance of an inductor, because it is just a coil of wires, and it is 1.6 megohms. So it's kind of like a resistor that resists changes in current. It does have some current limiting properties, but mainly current spikes and things like that. And it can be used in filter circuits. It can be used in boost circuits for battery circuits. And I'll show you here if I can grab this off of this board down here. Just grab this. Thought I had it hanging up, but I didn't. As you can see right here, there is a coil that uses the coil to boost up the voltage for these from the battery of 3.2 to 4.2 volts to 5 volt output. So there's a example of a coil. And then also, if you take a look at this is a Nintendo switchboard, and you can see that there are inductors that are used. Let's put this on this screen here, and I'll show you some inductors here. Down here is an inductor. This is used for part of the battery management circuit. This is going to boost up the voltage from the battery to the rail voltage for the Nintendo Switch. And then down here by this Max IC, this pattern management IC, there are inductors right here, here, and here, and they are common to be seen. That's how I identify power ICs and power rails, because here is another Max chip that has 3 more inductors on it. And if you look on the back, here is another power IC, another Max IC that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inductors on it. So if you want to find where your power in is in your circuit, look for the inductors. There's a power management IC with some inductors, another one there. I'll show you right here is one right here. I believe this is the backlight circuit. So if we would come in here, let's take a look. Let's get the microscope off the screen here, and let's take a look here. Let's put this back on inductance mode here. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to hold these tweezers down. I need to zoom out a little bit, guys. I'm sorry. There we go. You can still see the meter. So if I come in here and I come up to this inductor right here and I grab a hold of it, that's going to be 4.289 microhenry. Now, that may not be the actual value of it because I'm measuring it in circuit, but that is an inductor. And, if I come over here to this guy, that's an inductor. If I come up to this bigger guy, this is going to be a bigger inductor here, 1.2 microhenry. So that is an inductor. And back here on the back in this chip here, let me show you them on the scope because they're tiny. These right here, these little guys right here, are EMI filters, and they're basically inductors that filter out electromagnetic interference spikes on video lines. So that is another use of an inductor. They're using a capacitor to filter out some noise, and then they're using these inductor filters, these EMI filters, to filter out any spikes or changes in current, so on a video signal, to clean it up. So that is some of the basic common uses of an inductor. I'm not going to go into any kind of oscilloscope testing of an inductor and things like that. I just wanted to keep this as a brief introduction to inductors, how inductors work, and some common uses for inductors. I've used inductors for years in power management, building power supplies in power circuits, creating power rails and things like that. And now that I've got into fixing these Nintendo Switches, I've got into studying them as filters and different things like that. And you can use them in your projects on a breadboard with these radial ones, these axial ones. So, but this is just a brief basic electronics on inductors and what they do. So that's going to conclude this video. Here are the links to social media. Here are the links to my Patreon page. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you so much.